Hello class, my name is Olivia and today we are going to be discussing the topic of birth control basics. This lesson plan is geared for an audience of students in 8th grade. The time for the total lesson is about 50 minutes and today's presentation will take approximately 15 minutes. This lesson will cover the National Health Education Standards 1, 3, and 7. Standard 1 aims to have the students be able to comprehend the concepts related to health promotion and disease prevention to enhance health. Standard 3 aims for students to be able to demonstrate the ability to access valid information, products, and services to enhance health. And Standard 7 aims for students to be able to demonstrate the ability to practice health-enhancing behaviors and avoid or reduce health risks. The SIE-CUS key concept area that we will be covering is the Concept 5 of sexual health. Within this key concept, we will be discussing topics 1, 2, 3, and 5. We are going to maintain normal classroom rules that I will mention to everyone again as a bit of a refresher. We will be using appropriate language in this class. No slang terms will be accepted. Please remember we are in a professional classroom setting. We will also be respectful towards our fellow classmates and treat our neighbor how we expect to be treated. I also encourage you to ask questions at any point if you need clarification or have a question piquing your interest. Don't be afraid to raise your hand and tell me. There's no such thing as a dumb question and I will answer anything to the best of my ability. We will also be having one person speaking at a time. This not only displays that to your classmates that you respect them, but you also respect what they have to say. We will also keep the contents of the classroom discussion in the classroom. I want this to be a safe place for everyone to discuss without fear that the information will be disclosed or leaked to students outside of the classroom. So class, let's begin with reviewing what we already know from covering the previous chapters so far. Well, we know that men and women engage in sexual activity, and we also know that having unprotected sex leaves you at risk for contracting sexually transmitted disease, or STD. But do we know how to protect ourselves from these risks? I want everyone in the class to write down on a small scrap sheet of paper as many ways as they can think of concerning how to protect themselves in sexually intimate settings, and place it in the jar that I'm passing around. We will then go through some of the answers so we can assess what methods we are aware of. And don't worry, all methods will still be covered in full detail regardless of if the entire class knows a particular method is able to protect during intimate encounters. This way, no misconceptions about these methods will be left in your head. By the end of this lesson, you will all be able to describe the impact that correct and consistent use of birth control has on its effectiveness at preventing pregnancy, as well as identify that there is typically a gap between time when a person may become sexually active and when they wish to get pregnant, which makes equipping an effective birth control method extremely important, and also correctly categorize what each birth control method is described by, with the categories being methods that protect right now, methods that protect for a short time, and methods that protect for a long time. So, why should we learn about this? Why is this important? Well, knowing about the effective usage of birth control methods can help you learn how to protect your health and make healthy decisions for yourself. So, why use birth control? Consistent usage of birth control can help protect us from an unwanted pregnancy from occurring. So, for example, when a couple may not be feeling like they're ready for or interested in having children at the moment, birth control can help protect them from becoming pregnant when they choose to be intimate with each other. It can also offer STD protection. Some of the methods that we'll be discussing today are great for STD and STI protection, while others offer no protection from the STDs at all. It's very important for us to know the difference. Birth control usage is so important due to the typical gap that we see when a person is first sexually active and when they want to have their first child. In the U.S., the average age at which people lose their virginity is 17.5 years old, while the average age at which a woman has their first child is approximately 26 years old. On average, this equates to nearly a decade's difference between becoming sexually active and having their first child. It's also important to remember that attitudes towards sexuality in general, but specifically towards birth control methods, is heavily shaped by culture. Not every culture is going to hold or support the same beliefs as the next culture. And our job as students is to be aware of the different cultural influences that go into choosing a method of birth control and respect each individual's choices as you would hope they respect yours. Cultural factors that can influence discussions and decisions surrounding birth control and family planning include gender role inequality, deference to family or physician authority, religious influences, belief that the use of contraception implies sexual promiscuity, difficulties in discussing sexual health issues, attitudes towards monthly menstruation, and beliefs about decision-making and autonomy. We will be putting together a chart as we learn the different methods of birth control and their appropriate categories. Once we've completed the chart, I'll pass out a printed, filled-in copy for you to keep for yourself, with the 3 categories we will be covering as protecting right now, protecting for a short time, and protecting for a long time. The first category we will be covering is the protect right now methods. Abstinence, or abstaining from and not having vaginal sex, is the only method of birth control with 100% effectiveness in preventing pregnancy and STD contraction. This is only the case, however, when practiced consistently and correctly, meaning always. This method is the method most practiced by your age group as 8th graders. Typically, most people won't remain abstinent forever, but abstaining from sex until a person feels ready or until marriage, if that's what they choose to do, is a very healthy decision to make for oneself. Next, we have external condoms. These are sometimes referred to as male condoms and are worn on the penis. In Ohio, you can legally purchase condoms at any age. They are 98% effective at preventing pregnancy and STDs when used consistently and correctly. You will hear me mention this phrase several times during the lesson, and by that I mean each time a couple has vaginal sex. Most condoms are crafted with latex, so for those with a latex allergy, your next best external condom method is crafted out of lambskin. Condoms are much more effective when used with spermicide, which has chemicals in it that stop sperm from moving so that they can't get to the egg. However, be careful when using lubricants with condoms, as oil-based lubricants break down latex. Water-based lubricants can be safely used with latex condoms. Next, we have the method of internal condoms. These are sometimes referred to as a female condom or a vaginal pouch, and are placed inside a person's vagina. This method is good for protecting against unwanted pregnancy, STDs, and HIV. Internal condoms are very effective at preventing pregnancy when used consistently and correctly, and when coupled with the use of spermicide, its effectiveness increases. This contraceptive method can also be used as an effective protection method during anal sex. There are also other barrier methods like the diaphragm, the cervical cap, and the sponge. These are all other methods that are used via vaginal insertion to cover the cervix. They act as a barrier to stop sperm from joining with an egg. These methods are very effective at preventing pregnancy when used consistently and correctly. These methods are much more effective when used with spermicide. Our next method is the withdrawal method, often called the pull-out method. This is when a penis is removed from a vagina before sperm is ejaculated. While there are several different basic problems with this method, and it is not nearly as effective as other methods for preventing pregnancy, it is definitely better than not using a protection method at all. However, it's important to note that this method does not offer any protection against STD and HIV transmission due to the possibility of pre-cum contact and also the direct contact made between skin with those involved. There is also something that falls under the right now category called emergency contraceptive. This method is often referred to as Plan B or the morning after pill, and this medicine can be taken up to 5 days after unprotected vaginal sex to prevent pregnancy. It is important to note, however, that the effectiveness of the preventing pregnancy does go down after 72 hours. The general rule of thumb is the sooner it is taken after vaginal sex, the more effective it is. This method is not the same thing as terminating a pregnancy or an abortion, and if a person is already pregnant, taking an emergency contraceptive will have no effect on the pregnancy. There are also 3 different natural family planning methods, one being the calendar method, the next being the ovulation method, and the final one being the symptothermal method. These methods offer no protection against STDs and only have an effectiveness rate of 75% to 91%. Lastly, in this column, we have dual usage, which will fall into all 3 categories we have in our chart. This method is when people who have vaginal sex want to get the most effective protection by using a condom in addition to another method. This acts as a double layer of protection and helps protect them against both unintended pregnancy and STIs. It is important that I mention that this method does not effectively apply to using 2 condoms at once, as doing this can cause the latex to break. Next, we will be covering the birth control methods that protect for a short time. All of these methods contain hormones that are very effective at preventing pregnancy. These are called short-acting methods, and they are available for you to get at a sexual health clinic. None of these methods in this column are efficient at protecting against STDs. The first short-time protecting method we will discuss is the most common form of birth control, the pill. The pill needs to be taken consistently, once a day, at the same time, every day, and if used correctly, the pill is one of the most effective means of preventing pregnancy. A pack of pills lasts 1 month, and then the next pack will begin. Besides protecting from unwanted pregnancy, the pill can also be beneficial in helping regulate a woman's menstrual cycle, alleviating period symptoms, skin clearing benefits, as well as lightening their menstrual flow. Next, we have the patch. The patch looks like a square bandage and can be placed on the buttocks, upper outer arm, lower abdomen, or upper body. It's easy to use and works just like the pill, but the patch only needs to be changed once a week. Lastly, we have the ring method. This ring method is used by inserting it into the vagina. It does not require any daily maintenance, and the user just needs to be sure to change it after 21 days. It provides an effectiveness rate at preventing pregnancy of 92% to 99.7%. Finally, to complete our last column in the graph, we have methods that protect for a long time. Each of these methods contain hormones that are very effective at preventing pregnancy for anywhere between a few months and many years. It is important to note that none of these methods are efficient at protecting against STDs. First, we will discuss an intrauterine device, or an IUD. An IUD is a small T-shaped piece designed to be inserted into the uterus that's usually crafted from either plastic or copper. The copper IUD is surrounded by several different theories as to how it actually works, and can be effective up to 10 years. While the plastic IUD works by releasing small amounts of hormones inside the uterus and can be used for up to 5 years. Next, we have the Depo-Provera method, commonly referred to as the shot. The Depot shot is an injectable contraceptive that is over 99% effective when used correctly, as in not missing an injection. Injections are to be received every 3 months. Finally, we have the implant method. The implant method consists of 6 matchstick-sized capsules that contain a synthetic hormone that prevents ovulation. This method requires surgical implantation beneath the skin in either your upper arm or your bottom. This method has a 99% effectiveness rate. Now that we completed the chart, and before I hand out a copy for you to keep, I want you to test your new skills. Break up into teams of 5, and we will have each team race, with each team member going one by one to correctly match the birth control method with the appropriate category. The first team to complete with 100% accuracy will get extra credit points. Now that we've completed our skill building game, I want to ask some questions to get you thinking critically. Why do you think some women choose the pill method over another birth control method like an IUD, for example? How does the birth control methods that protect for a short time work? How might a woman be affected after stopping her birth control method? Why do you think there aren't more options for men, like pill options or insertion options? And lastly, if you are not here, how might you have gotten the answers to these questions? Now, I want you to discuss with your neighbors about what you think some of the possible answers to these questions are. If you're both not sure, or you just have a general question, raise your hand for some help. Your challenge and homework for when you leave class today is to go home and talk with your parents about their attitudes towards birth control, and think about what you think your own attitudes towards each method are. So to wrap up class for today, I want to review what we've learned. We learned the importance of correct and consistent use of birth control and its effectiveness at preventing pregnancy. We also learned that there is a gap of time between when a person may become sexually active and when they may wish to get pregnant, making choosing a birth control method incredibly important. And we also learned which category each birth control method is described by. So now I urge you to ask me any other questions that you may have. I'm open to answering any questions you may have pertaining to the lesson or human sexuality in general. If you're not comfortable with asking me directly, please drop a question in the Q box at the front of the classroom, and I will be sure to answer your question at the beginning of my next class. These are my references that I used, and I want to thank everybody for taking the time to listen.